Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me. This is What If Deku had solo leveling, or What If Deku had the system, and this is the finale of this What If. Yes, it is the finale. You might be like, oh, there's a lot to do still. To be honest, not really. Let's just say this story is going to take a bit of a trip, and I think a lot of you understood that very quickly once Izuku did his thing, when All Might passed away, you could say. Now, with that said, I have a lot to talk about in a little bit of a time, so I want to get right into the what if. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya now stands there with a shadowized or a kind of black misty form version of All Might. His Shadow Monarch powers have now been completed, and he has now become the Shadow Monarch hero. But it's obvious that things are far different than you could possibly imagine. The death of All Might has now basically shown Izuku a different way of becoming a hero, and that some of these, people are not deserving of a life. And that person, and especially one of them, would be All for One. All for One would be the furthest one that is deserving from life. And All for One would stand there as he's in complete shock of the powers that Izuku Midoriya is portraying. He would be in complete utter disarray as he sees Izuku send a shadow version of All Might toward him. And on top of that, he would see that things are about to hit the fan for him very quickly. Because this version of All Might is faster, stronger, and has way more abilities. And on top of that, he has to deal with Izuku as well. All for One, realizing that this fight is basically a foregone conclusion, he tries his best to actually land a crucial blow on Deku. But unfortunately, or at least unfortunately for him, he's unable to do so. And Deku is able to absolutely subdue All for One. But there's a choice that needs to be made. All for One lays there on the ground, completely out cold, and no longer a threat. But guess what? All the other heroes, they're finally arriving. But the thing in Izuku's mind is that this man, he does not deserve to live. He does not deserve mercy. And as all the other heroes begin to gather up and see what's happening, Izuku Midoriya would use the shadow version of All Might to take the life of All for One. And he would say those vintage words that may even strike fear in hero and villain society altogether. And that is All for One. Arise. And as he says this, a shadow version of All for One would arise, and what seems to be the greatest villain versus hero battle in history ends with the hero and villain on the same side. Now, this same side isn't truly what many would believe to be something normal. And on top of that, heroes alike would surround Izuku and tell him that killing is not the way of a hero, and would tell him that there would be consequences to not only him jumping into action, but him making the choice to take the life of somebody as well. Izuku would pan toward them, looking at them all, as the shadows, both all for One and All Might, dissipate, as they are now ready to be arisen whenever he needs. But as he stands there, he looks to the other heroes, Endeavor, Mirako, and many other of the stronger heroes, and some that he knows that aren't very high on the rankings but are very important, like Aizawa, Gran Torino. And as he looks at all of them, he begins to think for himself. He begins to determine for himself. He tells them that All for One knew that he had to kill All Might, that All Might's death was needed, but he did not know the true consequences of killing the number one hero. And All for One did not think about the consequences further than the idea that All Might himself, well, he needed to die. That's exactly what All For One was thinking. That All Might needed to die. Now for everyone else, every single last villain that could exist, well, maybe they should follow suit as well. Everyone would tell him that that is not how hero business is done, and that he should really, really think about what he's saying, because he may lose every chance to become a hero in his entire life. Izuku Midoriya would tell them that being a hero seems to be a bit overrated, and that maybe he doesn't need what he thought he needed. He was excited when he went to UA, excited to take on a new journey, excited to start right where he wanted to start as a true student of being a hero, as a hero student. But now he realizes that sacrifice needs to be made, and that villains are willing to do more. And maybe that's a contrast of him stepping into this world. Maybe that's a contrast of power. Because when heroes that are greater, that are stronger, show up in this world, they tend to combat, well, villains that are even stronger and more capable in this world. And that's why All For One was full and utter willing to do what he did. And this is a warning for every hero, every villain, that they should never get in his way. Because now it is his time to hunt, and his time to find exactly who needs to be taken down, exactly who's the villains that don't deserve life at all. And he truly believes that, and everybody is telling him to calm down, that those words, they don't sound like him, but he tells them that they don't know who he is. They don't know what he saw, and they don't know what he's feeling. All Might is crying to him. The shadow version of All Might calls for justice, and the shadow version of All For One calls for peace. It may sound odd, but now with both of them on his side, maybe there's a few voices that aren't exactly the ones of the former combatant and the former number one hero. But still, Izuku believes this all to be true, and he decides that he's going to head off, he's going to leave, and he's going to basically become a vigilante. And as he enters this era of being a vigilante, some heroes side with Izuku and believe he's doing good things. Others disagree and continue to hunt him down to try and stop him. Izuku begins to cleanse villain after villain, and even finds a city that he's able to basically not necessarily exterminate, but stop entirely, believing that all of these villains are misguided, that believing all of these villains are not what they say they are. So when he enters, defeating every last one of the Liberation Front, well, let's just say things go pretty differently. He tells them all that he could eliminate and kill them all, but he doesn't believe that they truly are bad people. He doesn't believe, not here, not now, that they are of villain society. So he's going to give them one chance. That chance is to side with him. Side with the safety of this world, and they can live happy and peaceful in their own society. In which the Liberation Front, after seeing Deku's power, after seeing everything that he was capable of doing, how do you say no to an offer by him, and in which Deku tells them to stop their own crimes, hold off on what they're doing, and soon they'll be able to live a normal life. And if they're not okay with living a normal life, well then they could truly wander off, go somewhere, try their crimes once again, but there's a chance that he would be lurking around a corner, that he would be there. That he would be there not only to stop them, but to kill them. As Deku would leave, giving that one message to everyone after every single person, including Redestro, was defeated. There is massive tells that these people are basically on the bridge of some different version of a life that they never knew existed. But soon Izuku Midoriya would even get a phone call. And that phone call, well, that would be from someone that he wouldn't expect. Sir Night-Eye. Sir Night-Eye has found somewhere and someone by the name of, Overhaul. Overhaul is the leader of the Shie Hassaikai, and he wants to take down and invade the entire base. And he wants the help of Izuku Midoriya, in which Izuku says that if he wants his help, that, he needs to prove or that he actually wants it, and this is not some elaborate trap, in which he would just send the location, telling him that the raid is at 6 a.m. and that if he wants to come to help, they would greatly appreciate it. And Izuku says that he will be there, but he will be there with insurance. As a shadow, or more or less one of his shadows, would continue to whisper toward him, not sweet nothings or not anything bad, but that there is someone loyal to him and to them that they could utilize in this insurance plan. Izuku Midoriya would tell them that he would arrive at 6 a.m., but utilizing All for One's visage of some sorts, or more like his shadow, they would find something that would be completely and utterly loyal to All for One, and now completely and utterly loyal to Izuku Midoriya, the Shadow Monarch. Now, they immediately head off at 6 a.m., arriving a little bit later as the siege begins, but as a giant monstrous creature would basically confront them, immediately another giant monstrous creature would take the fight to him, and that would be a controlled Gigantomachia, tackling and subduing immediately so many of the villains, as All for One's shadow would basically allow Izuku to communicate with him freely and allow him to have full and utter control. This would continue on, and they would basically eliminate every single villain here, and a lot of these villains are being taken down, and they're not fully killed, or at least not fully killed in the moment, but Izuku does give them a chance to at least imprison them, because he doesn't truly know what these people have done, and doesn't know what these people have truly basically fulfilled. But eventually he would learn of exactly that, and let's just say these people will be determining that Izuku will be determining that their lives are not worth keeping around, but that's beyond the point, at least for now. Izuku would head off to face down Overhaul, as Mirio is currently taking him on, and Izuku would see that a little girl by the name of Eri seems to be ragged and also extremely hurt. In a massive speed blitz, he would grab Eri, take her out of there, and bring her to safety, having one of his shadows take her away and basically take her to a nearby hospital that is basically right next to them. And Izuku would help with Overhaul, defeating him and also about to kill him. Mirio would tell him not to, that he's done, that they have him, they stopped him, but Izuku tells him that this right here is exactly what he's talking about. This guy right here has tortured a little kid. This guy right here has run a gang operation for how long? His father as well, that he does not deserve life. He does not deserve to live, but he nods toward Mirio and says that if he somehow gets out, that he will be coming for him as well, not just Overhaul. In which Mirio could feel chills run down his spine as if a shadow was passing through his body. But he would realize that at least Izuku has a resemblance of, well, kind of bargaining. That he will do what they say if it kind of suits the proper way. But here's the thing. With villains defeated, with so many defeated, there's only one that is on the mind of Izuku, at least right now, and that's, well, he would be Shigaraki. Shigaraki is someone that is currently hiding away, realizing that the Liberation Front is not something that they can actually do at this moment, because let's just say a lot of them are taking the advice of Izuku Midoriya, or the guy that absolutely scared them shitless. Now, with that said, eventually Shigaraki would arrive, and eventually Shigaraki would try his best to become who he wants to become. But even that version of Shigaraki that gains more and more power would just fall short in the face of Deku. But even before he could actually become what he wants to become, somebody would be there, and somebody would have found them with information, with calculation, with everything determining, every determining factor. They would stumble right into where they are, and Izuku would be confronted by Nomus, by monstrous creatures, but none of them could stop him from walking in and stop him from this moment. The moment he ends this villain society in Japan forever. And it all starts with the death of Shigaraki. Shigaraki would be killed in a glorious battle that would flatten half of a city. And guess what? It wouldn't matter, because Shigaraki is now gone, and gone forever. But I said it before, every single time a new villain will fill the void, but for now, it seems like that void is only made up of shadows. Izuku would stand on the rooftops as heroes would converge on this crater that used to be half a city, and he would sit there waiting. Izuku knows that there is now peace, or at least they can enter a true peacetime in Japan. But for now, he knows he needs to wait, lay dormant, and wait. And this would lead him to continuing his training through dungeons, through the system, and through so much more. And this right here is no longer the Shadow Monarch hero. This is the Shadow Monarch Vigilante. The Vigilante that makes every single villain fear the shadows, and makes every single villain fear even doing the simplest of crimes to the most expert of crimes. From taking from a small store that is in the middle of nowhere to actually killing and hurting others, every crime is feared. Crime would shoot down like an absolute missile, and even someone like All Might couldn't even get crime as low as Izuku Midoriya did. But like I said, one day a villain would eventually show his face, and one day a villain would eventually show what they can truly do against the shadows and the Shadow Monarch Vigilante of Izuku Midoriya. But that day is not today, and that day may never come until Izuku, well, isn't ready. But for now, Izuku has shot crime rate to the ground and has essentially made peace in the entirety of Japan, allowing for Japan to lay peaceful for at least the time being. But with that said, this is going to be the end of What If Deku had solo leveling, or What If Deku had the system. I know some of you will say, oh, this was a rushed ending, but I'm going to be honest. A lot of these scenarios that could happen with Deku and Izuku, there's really no point of me elaborating further. The strength that he's obtained, the power that he gains, and frankly, the convenience of the system earlier on in the story is exactly what led to him having such a massive turnaround. Now, with that said, if you enjoyed, still show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. I have full intentions of doing different types of what ifs as well. Maybe we'll even go back to Blue Lock. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't hold me to it. But there is a chance we go back to Blue Lock. Maybe we do some more Deku what ifs. Maybe we do Tundra what ifs. Maybe we do a Naofumi what if. I haven't decided just yet. Definitely want to do a Sun Jin Woo what if. But yeah, with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. And if you did, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And I hope you all enjoyed, like I said. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.